Hello and welcome to this YourTown, Georgina Spotlight episode. In this straight-to-the-point format, our guest, their organization, and their message is the star of the show. Thanks so much for joining us, Ben Badenoch. How are you, my friend?
Good, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You sound a little stuffy.
A little, yeah. I got two kids under 4 and 2 at home, and they're just walking petri dishes, so there's something in our house.
I know that one. I also know you've been traveling. I'm foreshadowing kind of what I'm going to talk about in a second, and I know that can have an effect too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a while since we've done one of these, hasn't it?
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we try to let these episodes stand on their own with kind of minimal time stamping, but I also should acknowledge that we're fortunate to have many regular listeners, and I certainly had a few inquiries as to when the next episode would be coming out. When we started, our modest goal was to get an episode out every month, which was a realistic goal, until the spring of 2025. Right? And
definitely snowballed.
Oh man, both you and I hit the road in the spring, and one trip, one project seemed to almost connect like seamlessly with the next, and lo and behold, it's the fall.
It's incredible.
Unreal, right? And, I won't pretend it's not an excuse. I mean, it is. We haven't been in one place long enough, home specifically, to schedule our interviews and take care of all the steps that go into creating this podcast. Now, having said that, it was always the intention to come back, and look at us. We did it.
We did it.
Yeah. So for those who have been patiently waiting, thanks for sticking around and circling back with us. And if you're new to the YourTown, Georgina podcast, well, we're glad you found us. Look forward to more, and don't forget to check out our back catalog. So Ben, I'd ask you how your summer was, but I kind of know how it was. It was a lot like mine, and it didn't have enough Georgina in it. Am I right?
Definitely not.
You know, I actually dropped the boat in the water for the first time just a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
The water was so low that getting it into our dock, like south of Crates there, it was a non-starter. Didn't even try, but friends of ours on the Maskinonge, they were nice enough to let us moor there for a couple of weeks.
Right.
So yeah, last weekend the family and I loaded in. We cruised out into Cook's Bay. We did some tubing, anchored over at Rayner's, and had a nice lunch, and basically tried to convince ourselves that it wasn't late September.
Yeah, exactly. And thankfully the weather's been a little agreeable there.
Yeah, it's been an unseasonably warm a fall, and given how much I think both of us were away for that, it's something we can appreciate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, how about you, Ben? Have you been making up for any lost time since you've been back?
Trying to building kids a tree fort, that sort of thing, but it'll be ready just in time for winter, so perfect timing.
You are a good dad, and I will hear about this if my girls do in fact listen to this episode. So that one has been that seed has been planted a couple of times.
You just talked about taking yours out on a boat. You're doing all right. Don't
okay.
worry.
Well, hey, you know what? Let's get to it, Ben. After all, we've made our listeners wait long enough as it is. Now, if you think back to past episodes, the link has come up a number of times. And I know that you're very familiar with the link.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're there every Sunday for the farmer's market, if I'm in town.
Yeah, if you're in town, of course. And, for those who are perhaps new to Georgina, the link, in its own words, is a community hub bringing people and organizations together under one roof to deliver programs, services, and events focused on arts and culture. But I think the link is even more than that. It's not easy to capture in a sentence. Now, located on Dalton Road in Sutton, in what was the old Sutton Public School back in my day, there's so much great work being done there for our community, and we really only scratched the surface. So today, what I want to do is shine a spotlight on one of the very important organizations that operates out of the link and that supports Georgina and its residents, and that is the Good Food Collective. Now, the Good Food Collective started as a collaboration between 3 other very important organizations, which, as I mentioned to our guest, are all worthy of a YourTown, Georgina episode. But hey, we have to start somewhere. And based on what I learned, the Good Food Collective aligns perfectly with the goals of this podcast. In its efforts to make a meaningful impact to our residents, it contributes both to our sense of community and pride in Georgina. Ben, you like good food, right?
A little too much sometimes.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, as you'll see, the organization is about so much more than just good food. So let's learn more about the Good Food Collective and the great work that they do for our town. Here we go. It's my pleasure to welcome Outreach Specialist for Roots Connecting Communities and the Good Food Collective Coordinator, Carolyn Grossi. Welcome, Carolyn, and thank you for being on the YourTown, Georgina podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All right. Well, if you've heard our podcast before, you know that we typically start the same way with our guests, and that is to discover a little bit about your origin story for Georgina. I know you reside here, and I would love to ask the question and learn a little bit about how you came to make Georgina your home.
Sure. I'll call myself a full-time resident from the Summers.
Okay.
So my family had a cottage in Willow Beach. A couple of my aunts and uncles also had cottages. So I had, the best of both worlds. I lived in Toronto and I came up every summer for 8 whole weeks. My dad would basically drop us off with my mom and come up on the weekends. So we were running around at the beach and having a great time. So we did that forever. And then my husband and I, when we got married, we both had roots up here. My husband's family cottage was in Island Grove. Mine was in Willow Beach. And at the time, he can't afford 2 places. So we chose Georgina to be our permanent home. And we bought a lot and built a house here. And I believe we're 37 years full-time.
37 years full-time.
Yeah.
Definitely your home. We might as well point out right now your husband, Rob Grossi, former mayor of our town, amongst many other titles he's had, obviously. That's a great story, and it's one that we've heard echoed a few times, that folks have sort of found their way here in more in the context of a vacation spot or a place to visit, and decided that when it was time to move, why not try Georgina?
Yep. Great idea.
Well, okay. We're here obviously to talk about the Good Food Collective, and I want to start big picture, as we tend to do. We'll start big picture and we'll sort of narrow the focus, but I would like to start off by asking you, what is the Good Food Collective?
The Good Food Collective is a group of 3 nonprofits in Georgina that got together almost 4 years ago now to create an opportunity for people to get together, people that were experiencing food insecurities and some social isolation. It sort of came out of the pandemic. Where people were looking for help. So it's a group, 3 nonprofits. It's the Georgina Food Pantry, Community Living Georgina, and Roots Connecting Communities. We are all tenants in the Link in Sutton in Georgina.
A lot of great stuff happening out of that Link.
I got to tell you, it's a happening spot.
It really is.
And to be honest with you, we're one of the reasons it is, because today we bring in 130 people every Wednesday, and those people then seek services while they're there.
Okay. Now, I want to go deeper into the Good Food Collective, but you mentioned obviously a few different organizations there, and I think it's worth diving just a little bit deeper, if we could, for our listeners, to build that awareness around those 3 different elements that sort of came together to form the Good Food Collective and support it. So you mentioned the Georgina Food Pantry, Community Living, of course, and Roots Connecting Communities. I suspect that each one of those deserves probably their own YourTown, Georgina podcast episode. Yeah. But maybe for our listeners right now, you could just give us a brief explanation of the role of those different organizations.
Sure. So within the Good Food Collective, we all do different things, each one of the organizations. Roots has taken on the lead role in the administrator, which is why I work for Roots, but I'm the coordinator of the program. So Roots took that on as their sort of piece of the organization. So Roots is responsible for providing volunteers. We'd sort of do all the social media and some of the fund development for the programs and provide just sort of the general setup and everything else for it. Community Living provides staff and volunteers. So we have the best volunteers in the world from Community Living, and they come and help every week with setting up and setting the tables and chopping and doing all the work and cleaning up and hosting and all kinds of things.
That's great.
Which is great, and it's also given them some terrific skills to take home, because a lot of them either live on their own or in residential homes, so they get to use that skill and get out in the community. And if I can quote Patty Burgess, who's the executive director of Community Living, she tells me that time they spend with us is time they're not spending with staff. And so it's an opportunity for them to be out in the community, not with someone who's paid to spend time with them, but with someone that just wants to.
That's
so
fantastic.
They're with a whole bunch of volunteers.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it makes them feel really good about themselves. And honestly, we get more out of it than they do. It's the best part.
Funny how that works.
It's the best part of the program.
That's great.
And the food pantry provides referrals. So they would recommend people come out to the lunch, right? Because they have clients. Certainly a lot of their clients are also coming to the lunch program. They also, we always make it clear, we don't take a lot of food from the food pantry. What the food pantry does is we give them the menu the week before or the month before, and they say to us what they have excess of. Okay. So a great example I give to people is last year they got some skid of chickpeas from the Food Network that they're part of. And they kind of called me and said, what can you do with this? So, we made hummus and we made falafels, and we sort of built some of our menus around some excesses that they have. So we try not to take from the food pantry to make the meal, but they certainly contribute food and they contribute some volunteers.
Okay, that's great insight to help us understand sort of what's behind the Good Food Collective, or at least what led to kind of the genesis of the organization. And as I mentioned before, in terms of the goal of this podcast, they seem very worthy topics for future episodes. So don't be surprised if I come knocking on your door and help get you to steer me in the right direction once again. No problem. So, okay, well, let's narrow the focus again and take a bit of a deeper dive into the Good Food Collective. Can you share with us a little bit what's the structure of the Good Food Collective? Is it driven by a board? How is it administered? Let's
there is no board because it's not a standalone charitable organization. So each one of those three organizations are standalone charitable organizations.
I see.
Okay. So it's really made up collective, right? So there is no board. There are 3 executive directors from those organizations who participate in some of the planning. Honestly, in the last 2 years or in the last 3 years, I've been the lead for that. So I report back into them what we're doing, where we need your help, we need your influence on certain things like that.
Okay.
But primarily, I'm the coordinator of all those groups together. So when I determine that we need help with something, so if we need some more volunteers that are coming and going, I'll reach out to community living and say, do you have anyone else that might want to contribute? It's getting really big. We had some people cycle in and out from community living who just said, hold on, this is too busy for me right now. So we went back to them and said, well, we have some other jobs that are not that busy. You want to come in? So we've had some people come in and come out. We have some people that come in who don't necessarily want to be with a lot of people. So they come and set all the tables before anyone gets there, and then they leave.
Right.
We have some people that just clean all the placemats at the end of lunch because they want something to do. Right. And the food pantry volunteers have been helping us lately because it is in the link. I think a really important thing to remember is we don't own the space. We are a tenant at the link. We just happen to use that hall and that kitchen every Wednesday for the lunch.
I see.
So we have to set it up. If the people that used it before us put all the tables and chairs away, we have to take out all the tables and chairs.
Of course, yeah.
So some weeks our setup takes 15 minutes and sometimes it takes an hour and a half. If we get in there and all the tables are tucked away, we march down to the food pantry and we steal some of their volunteers to help us pull out all the tables. Right. So it's a real group effort for sure.
Very much so. A collaborative effort and certainly reinforcing the term collective. I would ask, like, we certainly started to scratch the surface a little bit. But perhaps I'll ask the question directly. What is the mandate of the Good Food Collective, the core objective?
So we started it with 3 pillars. And I just want to be clear. It was about a month old. Okay. So I came in December. I was retired, as I said to you. So I finished sort of my full-time career. And I was doing different things around town. I was doing some volunteer work. And I was just looking for something to keep busy. Right? Sure. So I came in and I was the manager at Roots for a year while the executive director was on mat leave. And so I got this lunch program and said, well, what is this, right? So we started sort of developing it. So there's 3 pillars to the organization. One of them is workshop and training. So we offer workshops and education and training throughout the year for people to learn knife skills, how to use a chicken breast 4 ways, different kind of cooking workshops, like, how to make soup or how to make hummus or how to make what to do with all that basil in your garden, right? So we do some seasonal type workshops. We have a chef now. We've had a couple of chefs. Our current chef is Corey Dern. And
Cooking with Corey?
Cooking with Corey.
Of course.
That's her. So Corey has recently been running some workshops for us. We partnered with York Region Food Network last year and received a grant from the region. And we ran 28 workshops across town where we kind of did 6 or 7 Pefferlaw, 6 or 7 Sutton, 6 or 7 Keswick, because, Georgina, you got to make sure everybody gets a little piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So that's the workshop part. Then there's food access. So that's the other pillar. We wanted to make sure people had access to good, healthy food.
Right.
We support local farms whenever we can. We make sure that people have access to a good meal at a reasonable price. So it's a pay what you can lunch. It's not a free lunch.
Yeah.
So we make that distinction because we want people to contribute something. Doesn't matter what it is. The average is $5. That's kind of what we look for when people say how much is lunch. But a lot of people put in 50 cents and some people put in $15.
Sure.
Everyone is welcome at the lunches, so you don't have to be food insecure. Some people come to the lunch just because we've been told that's the only meal they eat with other people that week.
I was going to ask you, the social element has to be a huge part of it.
Huge part of it. Yeah. Very big part of it. Okay. And the last part is, in the food part, we also focus on helping our community see their neighbors in a different way. So there is a culturally diverse menu. So at least a couple of times a month, we are celebrating something cultural or ethnic, and we try and put that into the food. So last week we had Three Sisters soup in Bannock, and we were talking more about our Indigenous community. We've done a Nowruz celebration because there's a large Persian community in Georgina. We've done Hanukkah. We've done lots of different things where we invite different cultural groups to come in and help us with menus. It's really grown last year where we've made connections. We've had people come in and do dance and have music and different things like that. So the fun part about that is, I sat with a gentleman last year who said, "What is this? What are we having? I'm Italian." And I said, "Well, not all your neighbors are Italian." So when we told him, we said, "Well, this is, a potato pancake or whatever we were having for Hanukkah." And he said, "Oh," I said, "and there's donuts." He goes, "Okay, I'm in," So it just gives you a chance to learn. And there's a lot of people that say, "Wow, I have never had this before. Like I've never had wild rice, or I've never had curried chicken, or I've never had," so they come away and thinking, I didn't know what that was like. That was kind of cool. Right?
That's really great.
Yeah,
that sounds amazing. I think that again, for a podcast that's really about trying to make the sense of community a little bit stronger, I think that aligns really, really well.
Right.
And I've certainly lived here long enough to see how the town has gone from arguably a bit homogenous to certainly more heterogeneous.
For sure.
And obviously that's growth and that's progress. And so that seems like a really great way to start to maybe bridge the gaps from seemingly different communities and make them understand we're all one community here in Georgina.
Yeah, you've been to Sutton.
Yep.
Right?
My high school.
Sutton is changing, but not as fast as Keswick.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we say to people, "What do you want to have for lunch?" they say shepherd's pie, tomato soup, and we say, how about, right? And we come up, they go, "Oh, okay,
I'll
try that."
boundaries a little
right?
bit. Yeah.
So it's really good. I just want to make sure we cover the third pillar,
please.
which is the enterprise and the catering piece. So it's a bit of a social enterprise that we have. We have a catering arm to the collective. And essentially, if people hire us to cater, and it's mostly work in Sutton or from the Link Kitchen, when we get paid, we pay our community living volunteers and anyone else that volunteers with us, because there's no employees except for the chef.
Okay.
Everybody's a volunteer. That's
great. So, okay, I appreciate those insights and sort of building out an understanding of those three different pillars.
Yep.
You mentioned a couple of times, or maybe indirectly, about funding and sort of where that comes from. And there's the pay what you can, and there's a couple of different sources potentially. Can you tell us a little bit about where does the funding come for your efforts?
Sure. It's a great question because it's a big part of what I have to do.
Sure.
So the pay what you can portion, and it's honestly, it's a bit of a miracle. We don't know how it happens. Almost always covers the amount of the groceries. So a lunch costs around $500 every week. And we collect somewhere between $350 and $450 every week, depending on what we're serving. So the cost of the groceries is almost always covered. What's not covered is all the parchment paper, all the foil, all the spices, all the containers that for takeouts, because we have a takeout component as well. All those things you need to put the meal together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we do have to pay a chef. So we have one employee that we have to pay. We also have aprons and, different things that you need, foil pans and stuff like that. Yeah. So when we fundraise, that's the stuff we're fundraising for, is all the we sort of call it the back office kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't get any direct funding from anywhere. What we do is we apply for funding. In every grant we do, we include a food ask.
Okay,
so
great.
any grant that we get from United Way or York Region or the town of Georgina or multiple other grants that we apply for, we always put in a food component to it and then use that food component towards the Good Food Collective.
Okay, that's really helpful. Now, I'm curious. You mentioned that the Good Food Collective, it kind of grew out of COVID, for all intents and purposes. And I'm really curious if there are similar organizations in other municipalities, or is the Good Food Collective unique in its mandate?
I think the answer is both.
Okay.
We've been to all the neighboring organizations that have something similar. So Cannington has a fabulous program. Innisfil has a fabulous program. Newmarket has one that's sort of similar. Where I find the difference is our collaboration. So a lot of them sort of get together and make a lot of food and put it in the community fridge.
Okay.
Or make a lot of food and give it to the food bank. That kind of thing. We do that and host a community lunch. And I think really to talk about the volumes that we're talking about. So in 2024, we did 7,500 meals.
Wow.
So it's a lot. And this year we've added some new components. We have received some funding that allowed us to do a little bit more outreach in some of our cooking.
That's great.
So we're probably going to go over 8,500 this year, which is amazing.
That is
It's really amazing. Yeah. Because when you mentioned it came out of COVID, what happened was we started to do some takeout meals. So we started sort of alternate weeks. We would do a takeout meal and then we'd have a sit-down meal. We were doing 30 meals a week.
Wow.
Max.
Yeah.
And then what happened was more people wanted to come and sit down than take out because they'd been isolated for so long.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of seniors that participate.
Yeah.
And they just said, like, I got to get out of here.
So it circles right back to that social component that drives a lot of the traffic.
So now we limited our takeouts. So we only do 30 or 40 takeouts a week. And that's for people that just aren't able to get there.
Sure.
And we serve anywhere between 80 and 130 sit down, depending on what the menu is, what the organization is that's there. So it's a full house.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's a full house.
Man, those are big events. Like that's
It's
quite a bit of people
every week.
Yeah.
So, okay. Every week.
Well, I am curious then. I mean, you've talked a little bit about the structure of it and kind of who supports that. And I'd also like to answer the question answered for our listeners that are perhaps curious about opportunities with the Good Food Collective, maybe volunteer opportunities. What does that look like?
Well, I say to everybody, if you're interested, come to a lunch.
Okay,
come and check it
that's the
out.
starting
Come
point,
on a Wednesday at noon. It's every Wednesday at noon at the Link.
Yeah.
We don't really change the time. Venue's the same, right? Come and check it out and see what it's like. So if you're there and you think, wow, this is really cool, I'd like to help, there's lots of ways to help. You might not be a cook, but you might want to learn some stuff. So we have a core of about 14 volunteers, but we always take in new people. So you can learn some knife skills, you can learn some cooking, you can learn how to do the dishes because that's part of it too. You can learn how to haul out tables and set tables up and that type of thing. So I say to everybody, come out first and see if it's something you want to do.
Yeah.
The volunteer opportunity is Wednesday pretty well.
Okay.
You don't have to come for the whole thing. We're kind of there from 9 to 2. So we have some people that come from 9 to 12 and leave. And we have some people that come, we sort of have broken it into 2 shifts now where people can come at 11:30 and kind of stay and serve and then clean up.
Yeah.
We are always looking for help with fundraising. So if anybody is interested in helping with that or some of the social media pieces or some outreach, that's great.
Okay.
One of the other things we do is make sure that at every lunch, pretty well every lunch, that we have an organization that services Georgina. So it can be a regional one, but as long as they service Georgina, and they get a free information table at the lunch. So I was talking earlier about your podcast about the Legion. They come every year.
Nice.
Lots of organizations come and tell us about what they do and how it can help. So
That's great.
the Cancer Society, Hospice Georgina, Community Living, the Food Pantry, the Optimists have come. The Canets are big helpers for us. I mean, all the organizations that service Georgina, and if there's an opportunity for people to learn something, then they come too.
Okay, I appreciate you sharing that, Carolyn. Are there any other partners of note that you can tell us about?
Yeah, the York Region Food Network.
Of course,
it's a regional organization, and they were running these fresh food markets Most of them, as I like to say, were south of Ravenshoe, right? Mm-hmm. So we're big advocates of bringing stuff to Georgina and making sure people have access. So we reached out to them. Was it really easy sell? Their executive director lives in Jackson's Point. Nice. So she said, we've been trying to get up to Georgina. What's a good spot? And I said, well, why don't you come to our lunch one day?
Great.
So for over a year now, they come to our lunch, they set up, and the fresh food market gives people access to fresh fruit and vegetables at a very affordable cost. So you can fill up a bag usually for $5.
Fantastic.
I think they tell me now it's one of their biggest markets they hold.
Really?
Yeah, they come twice a month. So it's one of their biggest markets because we have a captive audience, and we have people lining up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and lunch isn't even till noon.
Wow.
And the market opens at 11:30. So
what a great collaboration.
It fills the house. Yeah, it's great.
That's great. So I really appreciate those insights. So obviously Wednesdays are a great place to get more insights from a volunteer perspective, or to get a sense of what it's all about. Beyond those sort of recurring events, do you also have seasonal events or other ways to raise funds in support of Good Food Collective? Yeah,
we haven't, and thank you for asking. We're having our first big fundraiser. We're having a harvest dinner in October the 24th at the Link. It's a Friday night from 6 to 9.
Is there going to be pumpkin pie?
There's going to be pumpkin pie. Actually, no. We're having apple crisp.
Oh, you know what?
I think there's going to be pumpkins on the table.
It just has to be one or the other.
Sure.
I mean, that's all.
But it's a full turkey dinner, and there's a vegetarian option.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
So what we decided to do was make it fairly affordable. So it's $45 a ticket. And then we're having a silent auction. And
that's a great price for a good cause, for sure.
Yeah. There's wine and beer. The Canettes are helping us out with the bar. We've got some sponsors, local sponsors that have come on to help us out. I think almost every grocery store is going to be helping us, which is great. And so that's an opportunity for people. So we're actively looking for volunteers for that. I have some people that have come forward who work full time and said, hey, well, I can come in. Can I come at 6 o'clock? And I said, you sure can. You can help serve. You can help do the dishes. You can help pack up everything when we're done. We also, through our catering venture, that's not on Wednesdays. So if we have some catering things to do, we definitely need some people outside of those hours.
That's great.
And any outreach, like there's a lot of markets and things that happen on the weekends, and we don't always have volunteers available for that. So if I have some people that are like, hey, could I sit at a table at the Georgina Farmers Market and help promote the program? Or could I be in the winter markets that the Link has there on Saturdays and Sundays? That would be great, because we currently don't have a crew for that right now.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we've kind of organically, in a lot of ways, answered my next question, but I would maybe I'll have you articulate it formally, especially given the purpose of this podcast. I'd be curious to hear your take on why the Good Food Collective is really important to our community and its residents.
I think because and you asked me earlier if it was unique, and I think it's unique because what I found, and this was I've never worked in social services in my life. I was a corporate salesperson and did national sales, nothing related to this. So, but what I did know was building relationships. And so what I've been able to do in growing this organization is you cannot do it alone. Sure. That's why the collective is made of 3, but honestly, we ask everybody for help. Yeah. So what makes us really unique is that we are a giant group of partners that do everything. So if someone's saying, do you know someone that does this? We go, oh yeah, I know someone who's in the Optimist who might be able to help if we're going to do this. We did a coat drive last year. Who can help us? Oh, there's a church in Sutton. They might have space. We call the church in Sutton. They help us. For our food workshops, who would be able to help? Georgina Library. Great. Let's call the library and see if they'll help us. So everything we do is with a partner. We honestly don't do one thing alone.
That's
so
awesome.
I think that's what makes it unique. So what does it do for the community? It really opens it up for people. The best part I say to people is there are people that come to the lunch on Wednesday who would never have crossed paths and would never be friends if they didn't come for lunch. So over the years, we now see people that are friends and save seats for each other. And these are people that might live in a group home.
Yeah.
And now there's a group of seniors that go to the church in Sutton that are going, hey, come and sit with me. I want to hear all about what you did. Or how about the Blue Jays, or whatever it is they're talking about, right? And it's so much fun to see that part of it. They have made terrific friendships. And to me, I think that's the best thing that comes out of it.
I find that really interesting because I guess I frame the question as, why is it important to our community? But I would say that to look at it from a different perspective, the Good Food Collective is the community. I mean, it's the community that comes together in order to execute these, the lofty goals that you have as an organization. But it's also the community of the users of the services obviously have created their own community.
And I think why it's important too is that, when we started, we struggled to find organizations to come and do you want a table and all this kind of stuff. And now I have people call me and go, someone from the region, I'll say, we have a new program starting up for, I don't know, seniors wellness. Can we come to your lunch? We heard a lot of people come there. We need to get a focus group. Can we come and do this? So we have different regional and town groups that say to us, we want to be able to talk to a bunch of people, or we want to do a survey and we want to get a big group of people together. Can we come into your lunch? Absolutely. And I ask every one of them for money.
Of course. That's
Can you contribute to something, so it just helps us have a better program.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Well, you touched on the idea of coming perhaps on a Wednesday for those that might be interested in maybe volunteer opportunities, but perhaps more generally, I'll ask if people do want to just learn more about or maybe how to support the Good Food Collective, where should we direct them?
We have a Facebook page,
Okay.
Good Food Collective.
Great.
We have an Instagram page. We have a website.
Okay.
And if you go to Roots, you can get to it through Roots.
It
as
links
well.
through Roots.
But we have all social media. Yeah, that's the best way, really. And the info at Good Food Collective email comes directly to me. So I get all the inquiries about people asking. We have a donate button right there on the website for people to make a donation if they want to do that. We've started to get, this year, we've had a couple people do in memoriam donations where my mom really loved coming to the lunch and she passed. Can I sponsor lunch? Of course you can.
Fantastic.
So then they come and do that. We've had families help us out. The Christmas one last year, we had a whole family come and say, can we help serve the lunch? Because we think it would be a fun thing to do as a family. So they all came. We have a lot of students that help in the summer that need their volunteer hours for school. So in the summer, we had, I'm going to say, 8 to 10 students that came every Wednesday, washed dishes, served, cooked, did all the stuff. And honestly, we saw them come out of their shell unbelievably because they came in and said, I don't know if I want to go in the dining hall because it's a little bit intimidating. And by the end, they were, sitting with all the old ladies having a conversation before they went home.
That's so good to hear.
It's kind of fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you letting us know, and our listeners know, of course, where they can learn more, but also how they can support the great work that you do. I've alluded to a couple of times, I guess, that a big part of this is trying to make that sense of community a little bit more tangible. It's a key goal of this podcast, but it's also to really support pride in our town. I mean, to make us feel that just a little bit more. And organizations such as the Good Food Collective and the work that you do, man, what a great example of a reason to be proud to live in this this town. So thank you for the work that you do. And Carolyn, thank you so much for being on the YourTown, Georgina podcast.
Thank you. It's been really fun. Thanks, Rob.
All right, Ben. So what did you think of my discussion with Carolyn Grossi from the Good Food Collective?
That was really interesting. We got a lot out of it. I mean, the meal and the show really stuck out to me. The fact that they have musicians and such.
I know,
it's so
right?
Cool.
It's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah. And back to the link, am I right? I mean, it just keeps coming up, and there's so many good reasons to talk about it.
Such a great venue.
Yeah, for me, this fell into the category of yet another incredible offering in the service of our community that we should all be aware of, either for support or to support. To that end, I found it particularly interesting how Carolyn spoke about the secondary outcomes for both the users and providers of the Good Food Collective services, that the motivation to utilize the services for many was as much about being a part of something and feeling that sense of community as anything else. And as it turns out, this extends to the workers and the volunteers as well. It's part of what makes working with the Good Food Collective so special.
Yeah, it really has become a social hub.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I started with the question of how does it contribute to our sense of community, or why is it important in Georgina? What's the role of the Good Food Collective? And as Carolyn spoke, it became very clear that through the services that they provide, it creates this sense of community for both the users and those, of course, that work with the organization. It also it reminds me of how and why food is so important to our cultural and emotional experiences, even as human beings. And this is something I became very aware of as my mom was in the late stages of life, and we debated a feeding tube for her. We knew that it would stop the aspiration that was causing so many problems, but we also feared, in a way, it would remove her somewhat from what we shared. It became clear to us as a family how important breaking bread together was to both our sense of self and sense of family and of community. I think in providing the workshops and education, the access to low-cost, healthy, culturally diverse foods, the Good Food Collective is tapping into part of what it means to be human.
Absolutely. And I love you mentioned the diversity of the food. People are sampling things they've never had before. It's just a great way to be introduced to a whole new world of food that they may never have had the chance to see or try before. Yeah,
very well said. Like I think it lined up very well with the kind of the evolution, the progression of our town. I mentioned the change from, when I was a kid growing up here, how homogenous the town was, and it's certainly more heterogeneous than it used to be. And that food can be a way to kind of sort of bridge those gaps and celebrate that heterogeneity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, as I've said, I've been here since 2016, and it's amazing to see how it's evolved just in that last 9 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of accelerates in a lot of ways, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Well, thanks again to Carolyn Grossi for giving us her time. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the Good Food Collective. And if you like what you heard or are feeling interested and inspired, join a workshop, come do a lunch, or consider supporting the Good Food Collective as a volunteer. Reach out directly or drop in on Wednesdays to see the good work being done firsthand. Of course, financial donations go a long way to supporting the Good Food Collective and its objectives. To that end, come on out and join the Good Food Collective for a harvest dinner on October 24th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Link on Dalton Road in Sutton. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And of course, subscribe. And if you like what you hear, rate and review us and help us get the word out about this great town. With that, let's turn it over to our good friend, Bernadette Connors. We'll see you next time.
I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a lady of the lake. I learned to drive on a dirt road, and I got all it takes. I see myself in the water, and my footprints in the sand. The moon can push and pull the tide, but this is where I stand. Georgina, I could never really leave ya. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, I've got friends in the city, they've got a tower and everything. I tried it out for a little while, but where you don't have roots, you can't grow wings. Georgina, I could never really leave ya. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, when I'm gone I dream ya. Late at night, later on, you're always on my mind. Georgina, should I stay or should I go? I'll always be scared of the great unknown. I see myself in the water, I see myself in the water.